And now,
Hire Away with Collins Harlan.
Welcome to Hire Away. Hire Away is a show where we talk about jobs and we talk about business, but we talk with the people that are operating those businesses and doing those jobs. So people with skin in the game. My name's Collins. I'm with Labor Finders, and we have a branch in North County here in St. Louis and one in South County. But if you're hiring and you need people, all you have to do is go to laborfinders.com. That's laborfinders.com. Call the branch nearest you. We'll help you out. So before we begin, I do want to talk about something specific. Spring is right around the corner, thank goodness. But we're already starting to get calls here in St. Louis from contractors, from landscapers, people that install pools, irrigation people. Those companies typically rely on workers through the H-2B visa program. And this year, it's a little tricky. A lot of these companies are finding that they're going to have a delay in receiving their workers on time. And that's a problem for these companies. But Labor Finders has a solution. If you're facing that problem, call Labor Finders. We can help you bridge the gap between now, keep your business running, and then when your workers arrive, problem solved. So again, go to laborfinders.com, call us up, we'll help you out. Today on the show, we have a very special guest. Her name is Cyndi Buchheit-Courtway, and she's the executive director for the Jefferson County Port Authority. And before that, she was a Missouri State representative. Fascinating lady, a lady with a really good heart, a heart for service. And without further ado, let's talk to Cyndi. Let's do this.
Hire Away.
Cyndi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So I know that currently you're the executive director for the Jefferson County Port Authority, correct? But also you were a Missouri State representative, and I believe transportation infrastructure chair. Am I saying that right?
Correct. Yep. I was in the House for 4 years and the chair for 2 years and the vice chair for a year before that.
Okay, so that all sounds very grown up. It's like grown up stuff, you know. What did you want to? I always like asking this question. What did you want to be when you were a little girl?
Ironically, I thought I wanted to be in the Army.
The Army?
In the Army, yep. I would wear my Army green pants all the time, and I just loved it. I just thought I really wanted to be there. And turns out it wasn't that I wanted to be in the Army. I figured it out much later in life. I just wanted to serve people. And I thought when I was little that to serve, you had to be in the Army.
Well, that's what someone would think at that age. But that's a great segue into your political career. That's obviously why you gravitated towards politics?
And honestly,
yeah.
I hate politics. People talk about politicians, and I've always said, don't call me a politician, because politicians are there for themselves. And I was always there for the people.
Yes.
I have a heart to serve. And so really, I don't know what possessed me to run and become a politician per se. I just wanted to serve, and that was a great way to serve.
Yes, I would presume that that's the reason. You wanted to serve, and you saw an avenue, and you took it. Didn't care for it much, but you took it. Did you enjoy it? Actually, I shouldn't assume that you didn't care for it much. That might not be the right way to put that. Did you enjoy your time in Jefferson City?
I did. I had a love-hate relationship with Jefferson City. I loved being there for my constituents. Mm-hmm. If you could just imagine walking into that building, the goosebumps, just knowing that there's not that many people that have their name on an office door there. You know, it's something to respect. It's something to be humbled. But I loved it. I loved being there to help my constituents. I helped a family from my church with some legislation I helped pass. Mm-hmm. I helped some other constituents with some stuff. That is the side I loved. Mm. The side I hated is, I don't feel that women get respected there as much as they need to be.
How so? What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, so you've been in my office. You've seen I have several binders behind my desk. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a little bit organized. So when I became a state rep, the first year I went in with big eyes and I watched and I listened and I learned and I got to the last 2 weeks of session and I was like, what is this? It's crazy. The last 2 weeks when all these bills are coming across your desk and, you're sitting there and people are adding amendments and trying to get their stuff passed. And you can't remember because there's been so many bills you've voted on already. You can't remember whether you like the bill or whether you don't or what all's in it. So year 2, I went in and I took a handy dandy little notebook with me. And on day 1, anytime we did anything, I would write down the bill number, who the sponsor was, what kind of amendments were put on there, how we voted, if it passed, how I voted myself, if there was anything I disliked about it or I really liked about it. If I wanted to go back and watch the film from the day, then I would put a time on the side of the paper so I would know where to go.
Very organized, yes.
Very organized. And things went great. The last 2 weeks of session that year went much smoother. Because I could flip back through my notebook and see how I voted on things and what I liked and disliked. My 3rd year in, I started noticing that there wasn't very many female bills getting passed.
There were females there, but there weren't many female bills getting passed.
Correct.
Interesting.
So I went through my notebook that year and I wrote down in the very beginning every single bill and who was the bill sponsor. And I discovered there really wasn't very many female bills at all.
That's interesting and not very encouraging, especially if you are a female. So that's hard to deal with. And is that one of the reasons that perhaps you haven't run again?
Well, so my last term in the House, I was in there for 4 years, and our Senate seat came open. And I prayed over it. I'm a praying girl. I prayed over running for the House. And when I prayed over running for the House, I knew that that's what God wanted me to do, but I also knew that God wanted me to win. So I prayed over running for the Senate, and I knew that God wanted me to run for the Senate, but he didn't say, and go win it. And so, and so I busted rear, I did all the things I needed to do. I did as much as I could. I fundraised. I went door to door I went to parades. I enjoyed myself thoroughly getting out, meeting people. I met new people in the Senate race because it's not just Jefferson County where I live. It was 5 districts. So it was Crawford County, Washington County, St. Francis County, St. Genevieve County, all those counties. So I got out and met some really cool people, found out what they didn't like about what was going on in Jeff City, what they wanted to be done. And so I did what I needed to do. I put the work in.
Gotcha.
And I lost. But, when your consultant tells you that one of the biggest lobbyists in Jeff City tells your consultant, well, she has a conscience and votes with her conscience, and we know we can't control her vote, then, there's something that I'm doing right?
Absolutely. And that right there tells me that you're who we actually need in Jefferson City. So I'm sorry that it didn't work out, but it could, one door closes, another door opens.
Absolutely. And this door, where I'm at now, the Port Authority, when I lost my primary, I was like, wow, what am I going to do? Because I was a state rep to the end of December that year, and I continued on doing all my stuff, still helped my constituents, tried to take care of my district as best as possible. And I prayed, I don't know what I'm going to do here, and then this opportunity came up, and the port offered me a position. They had an executive director at the time, and they offered me a position as a port administrator. They had just purchased the 18 acres in Herculaneum in September. And so they offered me a job starting October 1, and my job was to kind of be a liaison between the port and the operators. When we purchased the port, they inked a deal with the people who had owned it before to be our operators. And so we didn't have 1 minute of downtime. It literally went from RCP to JCPA with no downtime. And so my job was to work with them to see what all they needed, to get some kinks worked out. So I got to purchase a really cool piece of equipment, a Cinnebogan 855.
Well, before I'm going to interrupt you there because so that people who may not understand exactly what we're talking about, let's jump right into the port.
Sure.
You were featured in an article recently in a magazine called Sophisticated Living, and it's a St. Louis publication. And in that article, you spoke about the port.
Yep.
And you also spoke about container on vessel, this idea of these ships that carry containers but can sail the shallow waters of the Mississippi.
Yes.
So for people who don't know what you're talking about, can you give us kind of two things? Can you give us kind of a history of how all that came to be and, of course, what your involvement in that effort was?
Sure. Yeah. So about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I guess, I started hearing about container on vessel. Back when COVID hit and there was so much freight stuck in the harbor in California, and it couldn't get in. So that's about when I started hearing about container on vessel. Basically, instead of the ocean liners coming in and dropping the freight on the coast, they would be able to bring it into New Orleans and then unload it onto a different kind of vessel, which would be the container on vessel. Those could hold up to 2,000 containers. They would have refrigerated carts and regular containers. So like say a farmer wants to send his beef or his pork to market. Currently on a barge, they have to put about a third of dry ice in that container. And then by the time it gets to market, it takes several days, right? So with container on vessel, if he has his meat in a reefer, it's refrigerated. So he doesn't have to put any dry ice in there. He can fill it all the way. And it takes like half the time. So it's taking half the time to get more product and costing him less.
And that's big, costing him less.
Yeah. That's huge. And so that is kind of the idea behind it, to bring freight into New Orleans and then to bring it down. The farthest north it could come would be St. Louis, which Herculaneum would serve as the St. Louis hub. Up farther, they have locks and dams, and the containers, the vessels couldn't get through. So it would come up to us, and we could unload it and send it back out on smaller vessels or on rail. We have rail at our port. We have trucks that come in all the time. So we could get it out there. So several years ago, a couple of the guys from the Jefferson County Port Authority and a couple of guys from our county, the county executive, the director of administration, a gentleman from American Patriot Holdings, which if you remember in that article, they talked about how he was a Florida-based company. So they went to Jeff City. And it was when I was there, it was in 2022. They went to Jeff City and had like 18 meetings with different people. They went to the budget chair in the House and the appropriations chair in the Senate. They went to the transportation chairs in the House and the Senate. I was the vice chair when they came up. So I sat in one of those meetings. They had like 18 meetings with all these different people. And they said, look, this is what we want to do. We want to get there. Now, I'm realistic. I know you're realistic. We're not going to get there tomorrow. There's plenty of stuff that needs to be done. In the Port of New Orleans, they need to do a heck of a lot of work to be able to get those vessels there.
Well, and with regard to infrastructure on the shores and all that.
Yes, correct. And so until they get what they need, it can't become a reality. Now, whether that's 2030, 2032, 2035, I'm not sure. But this is a huge idea. It's the first that would be out there like this. And so we don't know the specifics. We don't know how many jobs, but we know it will be a lot of jobs. We don't know a timeline, but we know certain things have to come into fruition first. And so we want that really bad here.
Well,
and
it's a process.
It is. And we want it here, not just for the Jefferson County Port Authority, not just for Jefferson County, not just for Missouri, but it will help out the whole United States.
Another person in that article that, in fact, he kind of spearheaded the article. There's a big picture of him on the opposite page. His name is Frank Jacobs.
Yes, sir.
And Frank created a company called Falcon Products a long time ago. He's up there in age now.
Is it polite to say men's ages? I know it's not polite to say women's.
Men don't mind at all. Just
he's
so
93.
You know. Okay, well, he's again up there in age, so he's 93, and I actually had the privilege of speaking with him today because I was just fascinated by this idea. Basically, what this will do, as you started to allude to, is it creates an international shipping lane smack dab in the middle of the country. And Frank was telling me that, with his company, they could get product, as you said, quicker, cheaper. And then when there are stoppages or difficulties with the supply chain on the coasts, this would help a great deal to have an alternate. But Frank was saying that he didn't mention New Orleans, but what he did mention was Memphis. Mm-hmm. And he said that Memphis, because I think you told me one of the sticking points is, it's a great dream, it's a great vision, but how many large companies are going to commit to shipping containers and how many containers? He had mentioned that Memphis already has made progress there.
Yes, correct.
So the reason I bring all that up is I'm wondering what the other sticking points are. If Memphis is kind of making some progress, do we know if New Orleans is following suit and creating the infrastructure, or where do we stand down there? Do you know?
There's some political things going on down there.
Yes.
And so unfortunately it's slowing some things down. But you are correct. The Port of Memphis is working towards this as well. When I first heard about this years ago, it was American Patriot Holdings and us, and there was another port in Louisiana that they were talking about as well. And we've just gone out and American Patriot Holdings has talked to some other people. We have some people from the agri-transportation that are really excited about this now. Mm-hmm. We're in the middle of an updated feasibility study. They did one like maybe 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so we're right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of a feasibility study.
So an updated feasibility, what spawned the updated feasibility study? If they already did a feasibility study, are they just doing it again because things have changed?
Sure.
Or okay,
15
gotcha.
years ago, we got new people that want to get involved. We've really want to get this done.
Gotcha.
We really want to bring container-owned vessels to fruition. It will be huge, and if we can get partners like the agri-transportation people, how great is that?
Especially since in the article it mentioned that what people may not realize is St. Louis is a huge hub for agriculture.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this would really put that on steroids, so to speak. Yeah.
Sure.
There's another component, another person that was mentioned in the article, Mary Lamy.
Mary Lamy. Mm-hmm.
Lamy, and she's with Bi-State Development. She's the executive vice president.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. And so she's an important piece as well, I would think.
Yep.
How does that have you yourself had any conversations with her?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
So I actually had conversations with her before I was the director at the port, back when I was a legislator. She came down for, they had a ribbon cutting or something, to discuss container-on vessels and the partnership, and she came down and I had a good conversation with her. I met with her with the previous executive director, Jim. We met her last year for lunch one day and discussed, what's going on and where we need to go and what the study needs to be about. And so she was very instrumental in helping us to get to the right people. She's brilliant, and she's been in this field for many, many years, and you can tell when you talk to her, you can tell how smart she is.
So that bodes well for the future.
Yes.
Because we have people here in St. Louis with skin in the game like yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay. The other issue is these vessels. What do you know about these vessels? Frank's a really interesting guy to talk to, by the way.
Yeah.
He's really funny. I don't know if it's because he's kind of semi-retired or what. He's really relaxed. But he joked, he's like, I've never seen these vessels. I've heard about them. I've seen drawings, but to date, no one seems to have built one.
Correct.
So what can you tell us about any prospects there? Do you know anything about how that would work?
Well, they will be very expensive. We do know that.
Yeah.
And so it's key to get investors. So you can't just throw a boat together and say, all right, we're ready to go. You've got to get the investors. You've got to make sure that you have a customer base.
Yeah.
So that's part of what the study is about. And I've seen drawings of the vessels. Like I mentioned, it could hold like 2,000 containers. So a barge and a tow are different. Containers on the barge with a towboat, they're two pieces, right? So this is actually one full piece. It's the vessel and everything is attached as one piece. So it moves much smoother through the water. They're going to be great when they finally get them done. But we've got to get those investors.
And again, the people that build the ships, there's more jobs.
Oh, sure.
And those are going to be American jobs because there's something called the Jones Act, which dictates that any trade, any vessel that is engaged in trade domestically, the vessel has to be built. So jobs. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
no downside. Okay, so until this happens, this grand idea, this grand scheme, what most people don't realize about the Port of Herculaneum is that, yes, there are no container-on-vessel ships yet, so we haven't realized that dream. But the port is up and running.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that. Like
Sure.
what, because that's great.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many people in that area understand that the port is actually doing business and doing really well.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I went to the gas station the other day.
Yeah.
And the clerk asked me, he knew I was a state rep before, and he said, "Hey, where are you working now?" And I said, "The Port Authority." And he said, "Well, when is that going to start up?" And I said, "Well, we already have cargo coming in. We have barges come in. They're there 6 days a week. They're unloading barges all the time." And he said, "Well, how come I've never seen that?" Well, because our property is right on the riverfront.
Right.
And you have to go through Doe Run property to get down to ours. There's signs that say private property because it's not owned by us. It's owned by Doe Run. So it's down there, and it's not easy to get to if you don't know where you're going. And really, honestly, people, I mean, if you want to come by, call me. I'll set up a tour. I'll take you out there. I'm so proud of it. It's great.
Yes.
But the thing is, my operators need to know when we're coming out there because for safety,
Sure.
We've got trucks going in and out. On a good day, it's 70 trucks.
Yeah.
And so, you don't want anybody to get out there and not be seen and get hurt.
Sure.
So I would love for people, if they want tours, if they want to know anything about it, to give me a shout. I could talk all day long on it.
That's a nice invitation. So if people don't know about it, just call the Port Authority and ask for Cyndi.
Absolutely.
So one more question about the port. I talked to a client of ours who builds barges, ironically. I don't know if they'd have the capability to build the type of ship that I've seen in these pictures, but they have built what they've called hopper barges, which have containers on them. It's basically just a barge with containers on them. And he was telling me that, one of the issues with this whole design of container on vessel and to make it feasible economically is not only do you have to have customers, but you have to have volume, and then you have to have enough room to store the containers, move them around, because you're not dealing with a space like the Port of LA has, which is, 5 miles long or whatever it is. I don't know, but it's big. So what has been the plan for, let's say this came to fruition and you had ships coming in with 2,000 vessels, they're unloading 500 at your port, 500 in Memphis, whatever. And then this is happening every day or, a couple times a week or whatever it is. What is the plan there? Do you have the space to accommodate that?
So we do have 18 acres.
Okay.
And if it comes down to that, we need to buy more acreage, we would certainly give a thought to that.
Gotcha.
Whatever needs to happen,
So it's not a
we're
sticking
going to
point.
make happen.
It's not a sticking point.
It's not, no. And so, we sat down a long time ago and kind of put together a picture of what we think we would need. We would need a storage area. You would have to have a gentry crane to get them off. Obviously, if you're getting 500 or 2,000 containers there, then obviously you're not going to be able to get them all unloaded all in one day and back out somewhere else. So we'd have to have a storage area, which we would have to build. Yeah. And could we build it now in preparation? Absolutely. But right now we're concentrating on the port that's running and getting our freight out. And we have a storage area. We're putting freight in there. we're doing the bulk stuff now, and so that's what we're concentrating on.
The old saying, you have to crawl before you walk, walk before you run, is you're getting your legs underneath you now.
Yes, and baby steps.
Yes, baby steps, yes. So I think Frank says it's going to happen.
It is going to happen.
It's going to happen.
I don't know what year for sure, but it's not going to be 2026.
We should have Mary on this show.
Yes.
Now, here's something. You and I, we've talked a few times and emailed, and I feel like I've gotten to know you.
Yeah.
And to me, you seem like a very conscientious person, which goes along with what you said in the beginning about serving and your calling and things like that. So one of the things that is going on right now, because I said that actually as a prelude to the next topic, which is a legislative let me try that again. The legislative session just started.
Yes.
Wednesday at noon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so in Jefferson City, one of the hot topics, and I'm sure there are others, but one of the hot topics is property tax.
Yes.
Property tax. And I think I did some research, and about half of the states in half of the states in the country still have a system where they're taxing property and specifically vehicles, because that seems to be something that's a thorn in everybody's side here in Missouri, that you buy a vehicle, you pay tax when you purchase it, and then every year you get nailed with a tax while you own that. And yes, it depreciates, but it's still quite a burden.
Sure.
And from what I understand, you actually were ahead of the curve. You actually tried to put forth some legislation in the past.
Yeah.
That was going to remedy that. Can you talk about it?
Sure, absolutely. So, like I said before, I'm not a politician, and I was there for my constituents. So I had some older constituents that came to me and said, man, they're killing us on taxes. We have our real estate, our personal property taxes, and so much of it is going to our school. We don't even have kids in school anymore, but it's just killing us. We have to either pay our taxes or we can pay for our medicine. And they're like, what can you do? So I sat back and thought about, what can I do to try to fix this? So I did some research. A vehicle is assessed at 33 1/3% of its value for your property taxes. So I thought, what if we would remove that? So I did some investigating, and you can't remove property taxes. It has to go to a vote of the people. So as a legislator, I myself couldn't have done anything about it. But what I found out was that I could lower the percentage. So my second year in the House, I filed a bill that would say if your vehicle was 10 years or older, you only got assessed at 5% instead of 33 1/3, which really brought your taxes down. And so that year, it got heard in a committee, and the chair of that committee, it was Ben Baker, and he loved the bill. He was excited about it. So it was heard in his committee. He was all excited about it, and then I get a visit my office.
A knock on the door.
Yes, from the tax commissioners wanting to know where this bill came from and what lobbyists brought it to me. And they were quite shocked when I said, guys, that's not me. Yeah. I do what my constituents ask. I don't file because a lobbyist brings something to me. I do it for my constituents, and they have a major concern. And so they're like, well, we can't do this. We'll lose all this money. And okay, but my people have to decide between paying their taxes and paying for their medicine, Right. So I knew they didn't really like it. So it didn't go anywhere. The second time I filed was my third year in office. And by my fourth year of office, I cut it down and said if your vehicle was like 5 years or older, it would go down to 5% or something like that. It never went through. A lot of people said it was a great idea. Constituents loved it. I thought it was a great idea. We're paying so many taxes. We're being killed by taxes.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned the property taxes, but right now they're really big on wanting to get rid of the income tax as well.
Yep.
And that concerns me because, as the director of the port, my job isn't just to run the port. My job is also to help bring economic development to the area. And one of the tools we have in our toolbox is a thing called AIM zones. And AIM zones works with the income taxes at a business. So a new business wants to come to town, they get some incentives from the state. And so like some tax breaks and such, and those are good for like 5 years. So a port authority can make an AIM zone with them, and then that money that is collected in income taxes from that business, they can use up to a percentage of that, maybe 50% or something, to put more resources back into their business, into building their business. And so it's a tool that we have to help those businesses and to bring businesses to Missouri. And if we get rid of the income tax, then we lose that tool in our toolbox.
You have to have money to fund progress. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you can't, everybody would like to get rid of taxes, but you can't cut off your nose to spite your face.
And I'm not saying that I wouldn't like to not pay income taxes, because that would be great. But we have to think responsibly, because obviously we know that we have a lot of programs in Missouri that we have to pay for. The public schools, we have to pay for Medicaid. There's so many things we have to pay for. So we have to have money coming in.
Sure.
So if we cut income taxes, then we have to find a way to be able to still pay for those programs. And do we cut those programs, or do we find the money from somewhere else? So now are we paying another tax instead of the income tax? And are we just in the same boat as we were before?
Just kicking the can down the road, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Right.
So we really have to look at that and really know exactly where we need to go with that and what we need to do.
Well, I think your legislation was visionary. And the reason I say that is these other states that have gotten rid of the vehicle property tax, they did it the way you suggested. They didn't just lop it off. It was a gradual decrease. And then they found ways to replace that revenue.
Sure.
Creative ways to do it. And so now in my mind, I agree with you. I don't think we should get rid of other taxes, but I think that it would be good to get rid of the vehicle property tax. I think that would make everybody's life easier, especially for young people who are trying to, make ends meet.
And the old
people.
people.
The old folks that you talk to. Yeah. Wow. So I'm getting older. So
we all are.
Yeah. But I think you were on to something. And so I think that's there's enough precedent out there with other states that have done it. I think it's high time for Missouri to look at that more seriously. And we'll see what happens in this session, right?
Yeah. And you asked earlier why I hadn't gone back yet. This is only my second year that I'm not there. So, maybe in the future.
I want you to run. Just
maybe in the future.
Because you listen to your constituents.
You're right. But I really love what I do. So
yeah. Well, it's great to have you and Jeff go, period.
Thank you.
Now, there's another buzz around town. I keep hearing about some land that was rezoned for commercial use. There's a lot of talk about that. I've even heard that there's an idea for an airport. Am I correct?
So yes, we used to have an airport in Jefferson County. It was a small one. It's like the second smallest in Missouri. It's teeny tiny.
Yeah.
And when James Hardy purchased the property where they're putting together where they're going to build their corporation, they bought that area. It was a hobbyist airport. It wasn't nothing big could land there. It was just a hobbyist. Okay. And so there's a lot of people that still would love to put an airport in Jefferson County, and I know that the county is working on some kind of a study. And so this particular area that you're talking about, and what you didn't mention is that there's a lot of talk also about putting a data center there.
I didn't mention that?
No, you didn't mention that, but there has been mention of a data center. There's been mention of an airport. Mm-hmm. There's been mention of a subdivision, which would have probably 1,000 homes.
We need homes.
We do need homes, but businesses come, restaurants come, corporations come, and we don't always know about them when they're getting ready to come. As a person, just a tax-paying person, we don't always know when they're coming. When Texas Roadhouse came, we didn't know because they go to the city or the county where they're at, and they talk to the people that are in charge. They're their commissioners or their councils, whatever, and they talk about what they can do there, that kind of stuff. Some people think it's backroom. It's really not, because they're not just going to all of a sudden come in and one day you see on your phone, hey, we're Texas Roadhouse and we're coming tomorrow. It just doesn't work that way.
Sure, yeah.
And so there's a lot of people that are upset over basically anything that would go in that area. If a subdivision went in and 1,000 houses went in, then it could overrun our schools. There was just, in this area, there was just a new subdivision that was brought up a few months beforehand, and they were upset. They didn't want that, If an airport went in, how loud would that be, right?
Right.
If a data center goes in, they're saying that, there's going to be so much noise and the electric bills are going to go up, and there's a lot of fear. A lot of people have fear.
Those are 2 points I disagree with, but I digress. Go ahead.
You disagree with?
I don't think that the electric bills are going to go up, and I don't think that it's going to be that noisy if a data center goes in.
And you are correct.
Oh, well, good. I like being right.
So, Missouri just put some provisions in place that the electric would have to be paid for if a data center does come in. There's not a plan yet out there. There's not an end user. We do know that a developer is trying to put this land together and they did rezone the land for something, which could be a data center, could be an airport. We know that happened, but there is no end user yet. There is no plans yet. And so it might not come to fruition. It could be an airport. It could be homes. It could be a Costco.
Sure.
It could be something different. But things happen, and there's a lot of change sometimes that people don't like the change. And I get it. I totally get it. A lot of people are saying, not in my backyard. Yeah, I want that, but not in my backyard.
Right.
I'd love a Costco, but I don't want it in my backyard. Or
Sure.
I would love this, but I wouldn't want it in my backyard.
Right.
And, I think if a data center would come in there, like I said, with the port, I'm supposed to help with economic development. And it would be jobs. And we need data centers, of course. And so would I want it in my backyard? I don't think I would care if it was in my backyard. I don't spend much time outside anyway, but Festus put in some stipulations that it can only be 60 decibels. 60 decibels is a conversation between two people. It's not that loud.
And as far as power, I've done a little research there too, because obviously data centers, it's a hot topic globally.
Yeah.
But the key to the power there is, I'm convinced, is going to be micro-nuclear solutions, these portable, compact nuclear supplies. They're safe. It's all closed loop. I think there are solutions to that. The noise, people talk about water contamination. They're working on closed loop cooling systems. I mean, these problems are going to be worked out. And that reminds me of why it's good to have someone like you at the Port Authority, because whether it's a data center, an airport, whatever, all these things could be good for the community if you do them correctly. If you think it through and you listen to your constituents and you address what you can address. And so I'm glad to hear that there's a lot of things that could go on at that land, and not
Absolutely.
just because you're right, on the internet, data centers is what people are worried about. But, the internet, things get spun and
Sure.
Get away from you. So,
And, just like how I served in Jeff City, the city council people, the county council people, all those people, they're people. And that's important that we remember that they're people too. And sometimes they have to make tough decisions. And I can tell you that all the people that are in charge in Festus, they do care about their constituents. They do care about Festus. They do care about Jefferson County. And I've seen some people attacked over this.
Really?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, I actually got a private message from somebody telling me that I needed to hang because I am okay with data centers.
Sorry to hear that.
Which is just great. I mean, it is what it is.
Kind of makes you want to get up in the morning and go to work.
Right. It is what it is. But but it's important for us to remember that those people are human too, and they have families and they have lives. And I can joke about hearing that someone told me that I should hang for being okay with data centers, but at the end of the day, it kind of sucks to hear that somebody says that you should hang.
Sure.
But I'm human, and
right, yeah, and you're doing your job, and you're doing it well. So, and that leads me to another feather in your cap, if we could call it that. There was, I guess, at one time an old train station in DeSoto.
Correct.
But you were involved in a project, and I'd like to hear how you were involved, like directly or otherwise, in refurbishing that or re-energizing.
Well, so what happened is years ago there was a depot there, and the trains would stop and people could get on and off, and that went away. And so I don't know if Amtrak just decided not to stop anymore, or I don't know why they moved.
How long ago was this?
It was years ago.
Okay, so a long
time ago.
Okay.
Yes. So several years ago, when I was in the House, it was actually my second year in the House. They did redistricting. So between my second year and my third year, we were redistricted. And originally when I went in the House, I had part of Jefferson, part of St. Francis, and part of St. Genevieve. And then when they redistrict, I got shoved all up into Jefferson County. And so I originally only had half of DeSoto, but then after redistricting, I had all of DeSoto. So as I was running for my second term, I met a gentleman, and he said, "Hey, I really want to get this depot going. We had it before, and I really want to get it. And Amtrak stops in the morning and stops at night, so we could do this." So I said, well, there's certain things that we would have to have in place, but I'm willing to listen and I'm willing to help. You just tell me what you need. So we talked a couple of times, and bottom line was that they wanted to bring this back. And they thought probably, they thought at the time $1.7 million. And so I said, all right, well, before I go to the budget chair, because I helped to put the $25 million into our budget for our port in 22 and helped to keep it in the budget all the years I was there. And so I had a good relationship with the budget chair. And I said, before I go to the budget chair, I need some information from you. I need some estimates. I need a drawing. I need people that are in support of this, and I need to know what the city is willing to put into the game. You got to have some teeth in the game or some skin in the game, right? Yeah. And so they talked about it, and they came back. The city came back and said, "Well, we can do $500,000." I said, "All right." So I took this plan to the budget chair, and I said, "Look, this is what we want." This is my third year in by then. So this is what we want to do. And we really think it's going to cost $1.7 million. They're willing to give $500,000. What can you help me with? So he put into the budget $1 million for me, but it was a 50-50 match. So that meant if they only put in their $500,000, we would only be able to draw $500,000 from the state and only have $1 million.
Leaves you short. Yeah.
Leaves us short. Sure. So I was talking to the city officials down there in DeSoto, and it was their city manager and then one of the gentlemen on their council, Todd Milkus and Todd Mann. And I said, guys, we got to figure something out. Otherwise, we're going to be really short, And so we talked about it, and we scheduled a meeting along with Senator Gannon, and we scheduled a meeting with the county executive, Dennis Gannon, at the county. And we went in, and we had paperwork for him, and we had it all figured out. Look, we got $1 million from the state. We got $500,000 from the city. We need more. What can you do to help? And so they were able to put $500,000 into the budget in the county. So the $500,000 from the city, the $500,000 from the county will match up to the $1 million from the state.
The 50-50.
So last year I wasn't there, obviously, but I was still badgering. It was a new budget chair in that year because Cody, the former budget chair, he termed out after 8 years, and so the new guy came on. He would have been the vice chair before, and I got along well with him as well. And so I bugged him. You called him,
badgered him. I like that word.
I emailed him. I texted him, and I said, Dirk, I got to keep I got to keep the leftovers of my port money. I got to keep the leftovers of the money for the road, the outer road for the James Hardy project. And I got to keep this $1 million in here for the train depot. And we were able to do that. We were successful on all three sides, and we were able to keep all that money in the budget. I went to a meeting a couple months back, and they finally got a drawing. They got what they want, the rendition of what they want. They have a consultant they're working with, so they're well on their way now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you spearheaded that.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could say
Well,
that.
you did, because you did. Somebody's got to do the badgering.
Yes.
And you did the badgering
Yes.
for sure.
But if the gentleman in DeSoto wouldn't have started by coming to me and saying,
Sure.
look, as your constituent, this is what I want.
Right.
I wouldn't have known to help with that.
And that's why you're so good at what you do, and that I hope you run again. And frankly, it's just wonderful to know that someone like you has our back in Jeffco. It's really great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
We're sadly short on time.
Oh.
Did you have more to say?
I mean, I'm a talker, so we could probably go on forever.
Well, we'll get you and Mary Lamy on together.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about container on vessel.
Awesome.
See if
Sounds
we can't
good.
move the needle.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. It's been
Appreciate
a pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cyndi. How lucky Jefferson County is to have somebody like Cyndi working for them. What a good heart. What a good civil servant. Okay, so we've got the job of the week coming up. Stay tuned for that. And also, if you're still listening to this, I'm going to assume that you like the program. And if you like the program, why not like or share on your social media? That would really help. So that's an ask. Please like or share this on your social media. Next week, we have another really good guest from Labor Finders. His name is Jerry Solis. He's our senior branch manager out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he's one of our most successful managers. So he's going to give us some ideas and tips on what makes him successful. And if you're struggling, you might want to tune in, and he's going to be able to help you. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Hire away with Collins Harlan.